Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I am Coach Sherry, and this is not just my live, it's also my Real Talk with Coach Sherry podcast. And I am on day 64 of 90 days of going live every day challenge. And I'm happy to be here with you this evening. Oh my goodness, let me tell you. I said, let me go and do my live right now. I got in late. I had a dinner meeting and it was a great meeting, very productive, great conversation, great strategies, just a good time. And going live every day with this challenge is really pushing me beyond where I thought I could be pushed. And that's because typically if I have late meetings like this, I definitely wouldn't go live afterwards. But because I'm committed to this challenge, I want to succeed in it. I am going forward, and here I am. Here you are. Thank you for being here. For those of you that are here live, be sure to say hello in the chat. And for those of you who are watching this on replay, I appreciate that support. And whether you're here live or checking out the replay, be sure to get your pen and paper ready so that you can take notes. This session is going to be about Oh, I think I need to change the spelling of the first one. I have whiners versus losers. No, it's winners versus losers. How to take on a winning mindset. As you can see, it's late for me, and I'm still going to give you that robust content, give you those nuggets that you can take away and implement right away. If you're new to this channel is about workforce development, career readiness, entrepreneurship, real life, real issues, and real talk. If you have been on the fence and are undecided, but you keep finding yourself coming back to the content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you are notified for all of the future uploads. I do upload pre records, shorts, as well as different quotes, sayings, pictures on my community wall. And again, I am doing this live. I do go live, but I'm doing a challenge of going live every day. I'm excited to share this information with you. A lot of people, they view winning and losing with sports. They always think, oh, in sports, there's a winner, there's a loser. But that's also in life, that's in everything that you do. And your mindset really determines where you will land with that. Are you a winner or are you a loser? And I hope that you all have a winning mindset. And if not, it definitely can be developed. And that's something that we're going to talk about this evening with the strategies. So the key difference between winners and losers first is the mindset. Winners focus on solutions, while losers they focus on the problem. So a winner, even when they are strategizing going into something new, they're going to see what are the solutions? How can we win next time? They don't always dwell on the last win. They always look forward to the next challenge and the next situation. And losers, they only focus on the problems. They talk about what they don't have, what they can't do, what they're not good enough for. Winners own their mistakes and learn from them, while losers blame others and make excuses. Now, I was taught excuses are the tools of the weak and incompetent, and those who use them are seldom capable of anything else. And that's something we had to recite while we were pledging. And I believe that wholeheartedly. A loser will come up with every excuse in the book to either avoid doing something, to stop doing something, or to not. Well, avoiding is not doing it too, but they'll come up with a reason, and they won't be accountable for the mistakes that they make or the lack of things that they do. Whereas winners, they own their mistakes and learn from them. And that's so important. And that's why winning is not always coming in first place, is not always winning that trophy. Winning is also being able to glean some of those valuable nuggets, those life lessons from those challenging situations. If you can walk away as a better person, if you can walk away with more knowledge, more understanding, then you have won. Winners have a positive attitude and remain optimistic when facing obstacles, while losers have a negative outlook. You know, when a winner gets close to an obstacle, they will pause there and figure out how to get over, under, or around. And they know that they can do it. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. Whereas a loser will have a negative outlook and talk about how they can't get over it, it's too high. They can't get around it, it's too wide. They can't get under it because it's too deep. And all the time that a loser is complaining about what they can't do and being negative, having that negative outlook, all that time the winners are building that bridge, digging that tunnel, or making their way to the edge to go around. Because when you stay still and not take action, either way, in any direction, you are going to not succeed. You are going to fail. So the point is to take action. Next is effort and persistence. Winners work harder than losers and have more time. And a lot of people look at that. How do they have more time? What do you mean? And that's because they're focused on what they have to do. They're not sitting around and, you know, checking what other people are doing and complaining about someone's doing too much, or you know um, not doing what they are directed to do or assigned to do or what they know they should do. Whereas winners, they're doing that hard work, they're putting that work in, and they have a time frame because they typically will be organized and intentional with it. And so they end up having more free time because they've gotten all the hard work done early. The next is winners are persistent and conform to change, while losers give up as soon as an obstacle presents itself. And we talked about the obstacles, and change happens all the time. We are definitely in change motion mode and change management right now because there's so many new things that are being presented, that are being introduced. And as they're being introduced, winners will embrace that and they'll roll with those punches. They will be able to pivot, keeping their head on a swivel, seeing the benefits of that change, where losers would just give up and say, you know what, this is it. This is not for me. I don't believe in this. I'm not going to move forward with it. And that's how they stay in their spot. Winners keep going after setbacks and failures, while losers get overwhelmed and immediately give up. And I know that, especially since COVID, a lot of people have started to suffer from a lot of anxiety because we were in such an unknown situation. Definitely COVID was a setback in many ways in many of our lives. We may have had huge plans for 2020. I know I did. 2020 was going to be my year. 2020 was such a challenge until I almost didn't even count it. I didn't even count it for my age. I was like, nope, I forget, I think I was 50 when COVID happened. I just turned 50 in that October of 2019. And so I was like, oh yeah, going into January, I'm 50. This is going to be my 50th year that I'm living. And I'm going to do this, that. My bucket list was going to all be checked off. And then when COVID shut us down and we had to stay put, I was like, listen, I'm not counting this year. I'm 50 in 2021. That's when I'm 50. But of course that, eventually I caught up with my age. Or you know what, actually, you know what happened? Eventually I started to really get confused as to how old I really was. And I just started telling people the year I was born and told them to figure it out because it was just too much. I see Keith Jenkins is in the building. Slasher Chick is in the building. Warm Strong Adventures. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the thumbs up, Keith. And Slasher Chick, yeah. I definitely said I'm not going to count 2020. But who knew that it was going to be that long, that it was going to last as long as it did. And so even though that was a setback, and even though some things that you may have planned did not turn out, you know, winners kept going and losers got overwhelmed and immediately gave up. And I'm gonna tell you, because I didn't count that year, maybe I gave up, but I definitely got back, and I kept going after that. And I actually didn't stop for that whole year. I just stopped my age, but I didn't stop doing what I knew I had to do. I started doing things differently. That's when I started really taking my YouTube channel more seriously and just reimagining things in case it didn't go back to the way it used to be. And we're not 100% back to the way we used to be. Things are being done differently for sure. Goals and planning, winners versus losers, how to take on a winning mindset. And it goes into goals and planning as well. Winners set goals while losers fear goal setting. And winners set goals that are intentional. They understand what direction they're going, they plan things out. And losers, they don't like to have those goals because they're afraid they're not going to reach them. And speaking of goals, Slasher Chick, I know that you had asked how did I do with my planner this weekend. I did very well. And I guess I was over ambitious last week when I thought, oh, I could just do it in a day. I could if I had one full day to dedicate to it. But unfortunately, even with this weekend, I didn't get it all the way complete. I'm just about done. But I did work on it and made a lot of progress. Not sure if it's going to be ready to participate in a Black Book Festival this weekend here in Charlotte, but definitely I have been able to get move it forward some. So but losers, they fear that goal setting. They don't want to disappoint themselves or others. But my thing is, if you go into it thinking you're going to disappoint, then you already are giving up, you already are having a negative outlook, and that's not a winning mentality at all. Yes, progress over perfection. Yes, definitely. Nothing is perfect. And we can definitely set out, and every goal, just because you have it set out and you say what it's going to be, you may not conquer the whole thing in that one bite. And that's okay. You can't beat yourself up. You have to give yourself grace. And that's what I'm doing with my planner workbook that I am developing. I'm giving myself grace. Yes, okay, good. And the next thing is that winners plan and schedule their day while losers fail to plan. I know every evening before I shut things down, I look at my calendar for the next day. I determine what the weather is going to be. Where do I have to be that day? Am I going to be in various locations or mostly virtual? I kind of have a feel for what my schedule is going to be. And losers, they plan to fail. They kind of go with the flow. They seem surprised when things arise and they're like, "Oh, wait, what?" Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I may have days like that cuz I am so busy, but I am I have a baseline foundational knowledge of what I have going on. And again, it's not just what's on your calendar, it's what's the weather going to be. Are you getting caught out there if it's raining, or if there's a shift in the weather where it's colder or hot? You want to also plan for that because it determines how comfortable you're going to be. Are you going to be dressed appropriately? Are you going to have the proper things that you need to keep yourself dry or warm? And considering if you're going to a conference, even if it is in the summer, you may need a blazer or a jacket of some sort, because sometimes in those places it's a little cooler. And people that are winners, they plan for things like that. They plan out what materials, what resources they may need, and when they're packing up their bags to go to meetings, they're putting all the appropriate files or information that they're going to have to share. And if they're having a meeting that they are facilitating, they create an agenda. Things aren't just winged out. They definitely are being very intentional with how they they move in their day to day. Winners also explore different strategies when something doesn't get go as planned, while losers repeat the same approach expecting different results. And let me tell y'all, so it's about adjusting, and that's why when with sports there's always timeouts, there's halftime, there's pregame, there's even the post-game meetings where if you won or lost, you go over your what went well, and then you also identify what the challenges were. And coaches that don't know how to pivot, that don't know how to change up the game plan, even mid game, they typically don't do well. That's a loser mentality. And you could say, oh, but they're in the big league, or they're doing well doing this, but it's still that they expecting the same results by doing the same thing, or different results by doing the same thing, and that doesn't always work. So for instance, my daughter's basketball team one year, and both of them were on this team. It was their high school basketball team. And one of them was a freshman and the other was a junior. And they had an undefeated season. I mean, it was one of the most beautiful seasons to ever see. They were in a very competitive league, for high school, and they won every game. And it was like they had this, like, a few plays. And for me, especially from being a former basketball coach, you see the predictability of it. Like, okay, this is jump balls, the start of the game. The center on my daughter's team is always going to tap it to her. She's going to pivot and catch it, pivot, and throw it to the point guard. And the point guard is going to either drive it for a layup, maybe stop short at the foul line and take a jump shot, or bounce pass it to the power forward to go up for a layup. Either way, that first few seconds of the game, they're going to score 2 points at least. That's guaranteed. And no team that whole season ever disrupted that play. I was always surprised. Every time they went to do that play, I would hold my breath, because I'm like, surely these teams that are playing them are scouting them out and seeing this. Surely these teams have someone that's filming their games, and they're looking at it and seeing, like, what are they doing to start off. Because I'm gonna tell you, if you get a strong start in anything, oftentimes, especially if you have a pretty decent squad or team, you're gonna keep that momentum going. A lot of times it's who punches first, who scores first, who steps over the line first, and that is going to build that momentum. So they're literally that whole entire season until the final game, they had no one contest that entire play. And then the final game, the championship game, it was held at Chapel Hill at UNC. And when I tell you, the team that they played, they did their homework. And when they went to do that play, yeah, they let my daughter catch it. They sure did. But they didn't let her get that next pass off. And they were up. They were up in the up until halftime, and they were doing what they had been doing all season. But it was obvious that that team had done their homework. It was obvious that team had looked at film over and over and prepared for all of their moves, because at halftime the other team readjusted. And I was so hoping that my daughter's coach would readjust, and she didn't. And my daughter's team, ended up losing by 1 point. Not a shot, literally 1 point. Like 59 to 60, 1 point. And when I tell you, the parents were, I think we were more devastated than the players. And I mean, I have my other thoughts of why the game was lost, and I'll go into that in another video. But, if the coach would have just readjusted, if she would have just done something different, if she would have just strategized to accommodate the fact that the other team knew their every move, I think that it would have been it would have been a win because 1 point, trust me. All right. Yes, absolutely. I was like, "What? What is going on?" I mean, I stood up in the stands the entire game. I never sat down, never. And because I was just into it. Oof, I was into it. All right. So the next is responsibility and accountability. Winners take full responsibility for their actions while losers blame external factors. A winner will say, "Listen, I know that um I was late and it was my poor planning. I knew I was going to be leaving during rush hour and I should have accommodated for the fact that maybe my watch said I was going to arrive at this time, or my GPS said I was going to arrive at this time, but I should have accounted for the unexpected, like an accident, or maybe because it's the summer and there's more people that are traveling and the time of day, maybe there'll be more travelers riding on that road. They will definitely take account that they should have done better with their timing, whereas a loser will blame the traffic. It was traffic and, da da da. But you left in just enough time. You don't leave in just enough time. And that's why you'll hear a lot of people and coaches, especially, say, if you're on time, you're late. Because you don't want to have to roll up into a meeting and, yeah, it may start at 9 and you roll up in there at 9. Now you're flustered. You're a little disruptive because a lot of the people, because there's a lot of winners in that room, they've been there for at least 30 minutes chilling, being able to network, maybe drinking an extra cup of coffee or drinking some water, using the restroom, freshening up, checking their emails, checking their text messages, sending emails before that 9 o'clock meeting starts. Whereas you are rushing in, it started at 9, starts at 9, you rolling in at 9. You have to find a seat, you have to set up your computer, your laptop, pull out your pad, log in. Now IT is doing some type of reboot and you have to restart your computer. Now it's going to take about 10 minutes. You just never know. But because you only came right when it started, that's the situation you find yourself in. So if that's something that you do on a norm, you may be a loser. Look, I should have done it. I should have done the video like that. Like, if you do this, then you are a winner. If you do this, then you are a loser. But if that's something you do, you definitely want to rethink how you do things. You know, especially in the morning for rush hour, you do not want to take a chance with getting someplace just when it starts. If you have someplace different to go, you want to map it out the day before. I'm not saying you have to do a dry run, but we have GPS. GPS it, see how far it is from your home, and then, go from there for sure. The next is personal growth. And winners, they read books. Winners read. I forget who it was, but they said that successful people have large libraries and unsuccessful people have large televisions. So winners read books and expand their boundaries, while losers spend free time on TV, social media, and stay in their comfort zone. I'm trying to tell you, reading is so fundamental. It gives you so much to talk about. I remember when I first got out of college and I worked in corporate in New York, and books were amazing. They were everywhere. You walk on the streets and there will be book vendors with tables filled with books. You go to any store and it would be a ton of books. I mean, books were just everywhere, hardbound, softbound books, and people were always reading. If I commuted by bus and train, and on the bus, everyone was either reading a book or the newspaper. When riding on the subway, people were either people watching or reading books, but both in the same amount. And it was really good to see. You were talking to colleagues about different books. I remember that's how I got into John Grisham, because all the lawyers that I worked with, they read John Grisham books, and made me curious, because up until that point all I read were like Terry McMillan, or Omar Tyree, or J. California Cooper. I remember I couldn't get enough of her books. She was an amazing author. Oh my goodness. But it's just expanding that. and just reading all different types, biographies, autobiographies, mysteries, all types. And that helps with conversation. You find commonality with people. You see them reading, you ask, what are you reading? If you read something else by that author, you can recommend it. And that really helps you to continue to win. Now, when you talk about TV and social media, and that's it, and that's how you spending your free time, then you're staying in your comfort zone. That's easy. That, not saying that you can't learn anything, because absolutely, from YouTube especially, what I learned so much. But don't just rely on that platform to get all of your information. And let me see. That was one thing in Paris. They read a lot also. Slasher chick. Did they read a lot there? And some countries definitely, especially European countries, they read more than not. I always tell people, if you want to expand your vocabulary, read. If you want to expand how you, things that you have to talk about, read, because that's where it is. What they say, if you want to hide something from a loser, and I know they don't say loser, but if you want to hide something from a loser, put it in a book. So lots of bookstores and book vendors on the street. Yeah. And I'm sure back in the day, I know back in the day in Philly, they even had, book vendors back in the 90s as well. That was just a thing. And, it's good. I mean, the tangible books, I know we have virtual books now where you can go and Kindle and Apple books and things of that nature, because people want to save space. But think about all the things that happen in the future, and the thing that they're trying to save is the books. And that's what I noticed even in the Planet of the Apes. It was this newest version of the Planet of the Apes. One of the big things was books that one, I think it was one book that they were trying to preserve. But then the movie that Denzel Washington was in, and they were trying to save the Bible. He had the Bible, or he was trying to get the Bible or whatever. But eventually, a tangible book is going to be very valuable because it's going to be so rare. And that's where the knowledge is. Because again, if you have all of your books in a device, on your phone, on an iPad, on your laptop, on a Kindle, if something happened to you or something happened to that device, it's gone. But if you're gone and you have a tangible book, that book will always be. So definitely you want to consider that when you build your library on your device and not in your library. Thank you for the time check, Rudy. I appreciate that. Remember, I'm an hour ahead of you. All right. So, in essence, winners have a solution oriented mindset, and they typically take responsibility, persist through obstacles, set goals, plan effectively, and continually strive for self improvement. Now, you might say, well, Coach Sherry, I get it and I hear you. And unfortunately, I am resonating more with the loser side, and I really want to develop my winner mindset. How do I do that? And so the way that you take on a winning mindset is to first believe in yourself, have self-confidence in your abilities, and visualize yourself succeeding. Remind yourself of past successes to build your belief. So many times we take for granted the obstacles that we do go get over. We take it for granted the challenges that we've overcome. And because when we get through it, we're just like, good, I'm glad that's over. Let me just go on to the next thing and I'm going to forget about that. No, winners in those types of situations will review, how did I get through this? What did I do? How was this successful? Because those are those nuggets that they're taking with them. Those are their transferable skills. They will never forget how they became successful. You also want to surround yourself with positive, supportive people who encourage you. So, in order to believe in yourself, you also want to be around people that believe in you too. You don't want to have people meet new people that are negative or Debbie Downers, naysayers. You definitely want to surround yourself with positivity. You want to set clear goals and define your vision and set specific achievable goals. You want to break down larger goals into smaller steps, and that's what my workbook is doing once I complete it for sure. You want to take consistent action, develop self discipline to take daily actions aligned with your goals. And when you feel unmotivated, you need to review your goals and remember what the purpose is and maybe readjust some of the smaller steps. But you need to continuously take action. It's almost like if you want to be a winner, there is no day off. Because again, I always say this, you want to practice every day in some form or fashion. You need to practice your craft so that you can win. You want to they want to persist through obstacles and don't quit when facing setbacks. View failures again as learning opportunities. Also, you want to maintain a positive attitude. Focus on solutions rather than dwelling on problems. Practice positive self talk. You want to stay optimistic and resilient in the face of challenges. Embrace change and be adaptable. All right. So, you want to definitely remain resilient. Listen, our people were resilient and they were living amongst or within more challenging confines and situations than we are. And they were resilient and they succeeded and they dreamt of this day for us. So we can't take this for granted. We can't assume that it doesn't get any worse than this when it absolutely not only can, but has. So be resilient, but think positive and know that, if God brought me through it, He's going to get me through it. You want to also continuously learn and improve, adopt a growth mindset, believe your abilities can be developed through effort. A lot of people, reading is great and you can read and learn a lot of things, but if you don't take action, if you're not doing the hands on, it's not going to really serve you well. So many people can tell you things, they read about it, but they're not being about it. And so if they haven't actually done it, it's like the what they call it, the armchair quarterback. They have a lot to say. They can read plays, they can, understand strategies and all that from the comforts of their chair in their living room, but they're not going to get out there on the fields and do it. And if you're not that person that's being about it, then you really aren't winning still. I don't care how much knowledge you have. If you're not really putting it into action, then you're not really winning even with that. All right. You want to also seek out new knowledge, experiences, and feedback to keep on improving. So you want to have people in your corner, maybe have a coach, have an executive coach if you need to, depending on what level you're at, and have them help you get through this and develop that stronger mindset and provide you with that feedback that you would need, because that's what coaches do. They can see it from different angles and they help you strategize and navigate through those challenging areas in your life that you're trying to improve. All right, so overall the key is just to combine an unshakable belief in yourself with relentless determination, positivity, and a commitment to continuous growth. Developing a winning mentality takes consistent practice, but allows you to achieve any goal. And that's how you know that everything is possible. Growing up, my mother used to always say, "Oh, my Sherry can do it." She believed in me so much. She believed that anything I set my mind to, I can do it. Any obstacle that came up, I can get around it. So if I ever had challenges and if I called her, especially like if I was in college and I'm like, Mom, this is so hard, or, I'm going through this, she would listen and she would support me, but at the same time, she would tell me to get right back out there. Like, all right, you come sit on the bench for a little bit. I give you some water. Here's an orange slice. You chew on that. But after you finish that, you got to get back out there. And at first, you feel kind of like, well, wait, you throwing me out again to the wolves? You know that they kicking my ass out there. But you know what? If you don't have those types of and those types of people in your corner that's telling you no, you can, and they believe in you. Sometimes they believe in you more than you, but it eventually it comes to pass because you just keep doing it and you start having this large trail behind you of successes. And that's why I always say, when I cared for her as she lived with ALS, that was my last life lesson, because it proved that I can do anything I put my mind to, that any there's nothing too hard. What was that stage play? Are your arms are too short to box with God. I can't remember the name of the play. I don't even know if that's even appropriate for this, but something like that. But at any rate, going through that situation, which was the one of the hardest things I ever had to do, caring for my mother as she lived on a ventilator with a feeding tube. She became immobile, a lot of things, but I still had her feet touch the ground every single day. I still effectively took care of her and was able to do things I'd never even seen anyone else do. No one even taught me. It was just like, this is how I have to do it. And it has to get done. And it got done. And going through that, I realized there's nothing that I can't handle. I know that God got my back. He's not going to bring me to it if he knows I can't get through it. And yeah, I could basically do anything. So that's the mindset that we all have to take when it comes to being a winner. And, some people might say, well, Coach Sherry, I didn't win the game. Like, how did you win? Your mother passed away. Because I understand that, life and death is real. And that's it. We have a beginning and an end. So I couldn't hold on to her forever, not in the real world, but I have her memory. I have memories with her in me forever. And so that part has not died. And I won because, I had the honor of doing that. And not everyone has done something like that or will take the steps to do what needed to be done. And I did. And, God gave me that assignment and I studied and I did it and I took the test and passed. So that's the thing. So develop the winning mentality. Again, practice every day. And everyday practice means, you're looking at the film, you're seeing how you have to strategize, you seeing that you have to maybe do something a little different, pivot one way or the other. You may have to go under instead of over. Either way, take action, put one foot in front of the other. Y'all, let me tell you, it's been my pleasure sharing this information with you tonight. I didn't even know exactly what I was going to talk about. I just started thinking about winners and losers and how so many people that think they're winning are really losers. And maybe they're winning because it's the luck of the draw for that moment. But if they have a cocky attitude, if they walking around like, yeah, I won, I'm a win, this, that, and the other, and I don't have to do much, eventually it's going to catch up to them. And when it does, ooh wee. So you want to be one of those winners that keep it moving. This is what you do, but you have to also know you have to continuously learn. You have not arrived. None of us have arrived. So you're going to have to continuously learn to improve even those great skills that you have. Don't take them for granted. All right. Well, this is what I do. It's my pleasure bringing it to you. And until tomorrow, I will see you. Thanks again for tuning in. Please give this video a thumbs up if you got a nugget or two. And I am going to change the title because I have whiners versus losers, and that's not it at all. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Slasher Chick, I will see you in a minute. Thank you all.